Welcome behind the scenes of Fight Club. Today, we're opening the darkest secret Hollywood tried to bury in the late 90s. You think you know something about Fight Club? You've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Behind the camera, there was real hell. Broken bones, actual chemical burns, rats biting actors right on the set, and a tyrant director who demanded 50 takes until people collapsed from exhaustion. Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter went through pain that is still whispered about today. And right now, you're going to hear everything. No censorship, no sugarcoating, just the truth that freezes your blood. Let's begin. Imagine this. You're Brad Pitt on the set of Fight Club, and Edward Norton hits you so hard the crack in your jaw is real, and the blood running down your neck is not makeup. What if the entire film was one enormous curse, where actors broke bones and slowly lost their minds? 1999. David Fincher, the director who already made the world flinch with S7. With its dark hallways, severed heads, and a killer who lived in pure chaos. But Fight Club was a different level of insanity. An adaptation of Chuck Palahniuk's novel about a man losing his mind in a world built from consumption and quiet violence. A $63 million budget. Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Helena Bonham Carter. On paper, the perfect Hollywood hit. But behind the scenes, real hell began. Real fights that left real scars. Fincher's shouting brought people to tears. And in the damp, rat-filled basements, the crew whispered about a curse. This is the story that still sends chills down your spine, because every punch was real. Every drop of blood was a price paid for a masterpiece. The actors were not acting. They were living in a madness that almost broke them forever. From day one, Fincher made it clear. No fake hits. Fights had to be real. Because only real pain gives the emotion the audience feels in their gut, like a punch under the ribs. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, two Hollywood golden boys adored by millions, were told to hit each other for real. Norton, a Yale graduate, an intellectual, played the unnamed narrator, an office slave losing his grip on sanity. Pitt became Tyler Durden, a chaotic god of destruction, the embodiment of everything forbidden. The first fight scene was on a parking lot at night. Fincher walked up to Norton and whispered, "Hit him for real, but not too hard." Norton nodded, pulled back his fist, and boom. His knuckles slammed into Pitt's ear. The sound was like someone smacking a slab of meat with a wooden board. Pitt flew to the side, the ear instantly flushed with heat, a thin line of blood sliding down onto the asphalt. He writhed, grabbing his head, while Fincher screamed, "Perfect! That's exactly it!" Norton stood in shock, eyes wide. "I didn't mean to hit that hard." Pitt, through the pain, started laughing, a sharp, almost insane laugh. "Welcome to the club, brother." But that was only the warm-up. In the next takes, they hit each other without any "not too hard." Fists, knees, elbows, everything went straight to the target. No stunt doubles, no pads, no protection. In one scene, Norton punched Pitt in the temple. Pitt's vision blurred, and a ringing filled his ears. Pitt answered with a shot to the ribs. Norton bent over, gasping like he had been hit with a sledgehammer. They fell onto the asphalt, rolled in dust, blood mixing with sweat, the smell of iron and dirt hanging in the air. And then, crack. Norton swung again and smashed his own finger against Pitt's knuckles. The bone snapped like a dry branch. Pain shot through his hand like lightning. He screamed, not from the script, but from pure agony. Tears burst from his eyes as he grabbed his hand. Fincher yelled, "Don't stop! Camera's rolling. Norton finished the take while his hand puffed up right before everyone's eyes, turning purple-blue. That scream, real pain, real panic, made it into the final cut. Pitt didn't escape suffering either. To prepare for the role, he went to his dentist and said, "Remove the ceramic cap from my front tooth. Make it look like it got knocked out in a fight." The tooth became uneven and sharp, like a real street brawler's. But on set, things went even further. In the scene where Tyler teaches the narrator how to fight, Pitt took a real punch to the jaw. No pads, no protection. The tooth flew out, and blood burst from his mouth like a fountain. The metallic taste spread instantly. Pitt spat the red foam onto the asphalt, his eyes burning with pain and excitement at the same time. This is brilliant." Fincher applauded. "We're just getting started, kid." Pitt refused medical help. Let it hurt, it helps the character. He walked around for weeks with a split lip, bruises, and real swelling. The makeup team only darkened it to look even worse. "I felt every hit like I was fighting for my life," Pitt recalled later. And even years after, you can still hear the echo of that pain in his voice. And what about the chemical burn scene? The moment Tyler burns the narrator's hand with lye and forces him to endure it. They used a real chemical gel that causes a real burn. Norton's skin reddened instantly, then blistered, and the burning felt like his hand was being pushed into boiling oil. He writhed for real. Tears streamed down his face. He screamed in pain, trying to pull his hand away. Fincher forced them to shoot 50 takes. 50. By the 20th take, Norton's hand was covered in bubbles. Pieces of skin were peeling off. He was on the edge of fainting. "That's enough! Stop!" Norton yelled. Fincher answered coldly, "Again, I want to see your soul in agony." Later, Norton admitted, "I felt like I was losing my mind exactly the same way my character was." Fincher wanted us to live the film, and we did, in pain. Fincher was a real tyrant. He shouted at everyone like a drill sergeant screaming at new recruits. "You are nothing. You don't understand pain." His voice echoed across the entire set. Norton remembered it clearly. David pushed us to the limit. He wanted us to feel the narrator's pain, real pain, not acting. The actors went home with bruises, split lips, swollen hands. But no one complained, because everyone understood the same thing. This was for the film, for the art, for the viewer to feel every hit deep in their stomach. And the rumors, they were already spreading across the set. People said Fincher purposely chose the dampest, darkest basements in Los Angeles, places where real underground fights supposedly took place years before. And that, in one of those basements, huge rats, the size of small cats, still lived. It was just a rumor, but the actors swore they saw red eyes in the dark and heard scratching behind their backs while shooting the night scenes of the Fight Club. Now imagine yourself in the basement where the first Fight Club is born. Not a set, not a cozy studio. A real concrete crypt, dark, damp, the walls covered in wet mold, rusty pipes hanging from the ceiling, dripping freezing water. The floor covered in muddy puddles. The air smells like rot, sweat, and cheap disinfectant that stopped working years ago. In the corners, rats move loudly. Fat, bold creatures. Their eyes flash in the light like tiny demons watching every movement. The air is so heavy and humid, you almost have to chew it to breathe. The actors stand in a circle like gladiators before execution. Sweat runs down their backs. Shirts stick to their skin. Their breathing is rough, uneven. Their hearts pound so loudly you could build a soundtrack from that rhythm alone. And through all this noise, only one voice dominates. Fincher. He stands in the shadows with a megaphone, his eyes cold like a blade, and he screams over the fans and generators. Hit for real. You are Tyler. You are the god of destruction. Forget you're an actor. Pitt and Norton step into the center like two predators released from cages. Eye to eye. No smiles, no jokes. Only tension so thick you could grab it with your hand. Silence lasts one split second. Then everything explodes. They rush at each other. Fists fire like bullets. Every impact echoes through the concrete walls, shaking the entire room. Ribs crack under the hits. Skin reddens instantly, turning purple and black in seconds. Norton takes a punch to the nose. A sharp crack so loud that people behind the camera flinch. Blood pours down at once. Hot, thick. It spills onto his lips, fills his mouth. He chokes on the metallic taste. He tries to breathe, gasps for air, but keeps moving forward. Because somewhere behind the cameras stands a man who will not accept weakness. Pitt hits the liver. The punch is so precise and brutal that even the crew feels pain in their gut. Air shoots out of Norton with a hiss. He bends over as if stabbed. His eyes widen, full of panic and adrenaline at the same time. They collapse onto the wet floor, rolling, wrestling, crashing into puddles like two dogs locked in a death fight. Broken glass cuts into their skin. Thin red lines appear on their arms and backs. Blood mixes with sweat, dirt, and cold water from the ground. The smell of iron becomes overwhelming, filling every breath. People behind the camera wince, but no one dares interrupt the take. Fincher doesn't shout, "Cut!" He screams something else. "Keep going. I want blood. You're not acting. You're living it." His voice cracks like a whip. In that moment, the film stops being a film. It becomes a ritual. After the take, Pitt breathes heavily. He spits thick, dark blood onto the concrete and smirks through the pain. That was great, but damn, it hurts. Norton wipes the blood from his nose with the back of his hand. His fingers shake, his lips are split, his eyes already swelling. But he only nods. We're in this together, to the end. And the stuntmen? The ones who are usually invisible behind the stars? Here they are not background. They are the expendable soldiers of this war. In the big fight scenes, they are given no mercy. They were warned, it will hurt. But no one understood how much. In the club scenes, fists and knees fly for real. One guy takes a hit to the eye, and in seconds, a purple balloon rises under the lid. His eyes swell shut, the pain pounding through his skull like a hammer. Every heartbeat explodes in his temples. He squints, wants to step away, but hears the familiar command. "Keep going. Camera is rolling." Another stuntman takes a punch to the gut so brutal that everyone near him feels their stomach drop. The hit is sharp, perfect. His body folds instantly. His lungs seem to shut down. He can't breathe. The world shakes. A wave of nausea rises from deep inside. He collapses to his knees, bends forward, coughs, vomits onto the dirty concrete. But the camera doesn't look away. Fincher watches the monitor, and instead of sympathy, there's a thin, satisfied smile. Perfect. That's what we need. A real reaction, not makeup. The worst part was the broken jaw. A massive brawl, crowd noise, screams, sweat, and harsh flashlight beams cutting through the dark. One stuntman takes a punch straight to the jaw. A dry, disgusting crack, like someone snapping a dead branch. He drops instantly. Warm blood fills his mouth. His tongue searches for his teeth. And not all of them are there. The pain is so sharp he doesn't scream right away. Only a rough gasp at first. And then a wild, animal howl bursts out of him. Everyone hears it. Fincher doesn't allow them to stop. Do not cut. Finish the scene. You will never fake a scream like that. Only later, the hospital, a wired jaw, a month of liquid food, whispering instead of speaking. And that scream stays forever in the film's soundtrack. And away from all these brutal, masculine wars stands Helena Bonham Carter, Marla, the black hole of this world. Her scenes have no fists, but she has her own hell. She smokes real cigarettes, no filters. Harsh, tearing like sandpaper. The smoke doesn't simply pass through her mouth. It scratches into her throat like a swarm of tiny needles. Every inhale burns from the inside. The coughing tears her chest apart. Tears flood her eyes. Her eyelashes stick together. You are Marla. You are poison. You rot everything you touch. Fincher yells from behind the camera. Helena takes another drag. Deeper, longer, in a way no sane person would ever do. The smoke fills her lungs, becomes thick and heavy. She chokes, exhales, and the smoke leaves her like a dying soul escaping a corpse. After another take, she stumbles out of frame and rushes to the bathroom. She collapses over the toilet. Her whole body tightens in a spasm. Her fingers curl into fists. Her shoulders shake. She looks in the mirror. Red eyes, dark circles, skin pale as chalk. This is hell, she whispers. Behind the door, the director's torn voice. Another take. You must feel the smoke killing you. Only then the audience will believe you are Marla. Cigarettes burn one after another. A pack a day turns into a pile of bent filters and gray ash. Nicotine digs into her blood. Her heart speeds up. Her hands turn cold. Inside, everything trembles like a stretched wire. By night, her head hums like an engine. Her body feels heavy and weak. But the shoot doesn't stop. And that's not all. In the coffee scenes, the cups are not props. Real espresso. Thick, black as oil. Every cup hits the nervous system like a hammer. After 10 cups, her hands shake. After 20, caffeine turns the night into a never-ending nightmare. Her heart bangs like a drum, leading someone to execution. Her chest vibrates with a constant hum. Her mind buzzes. She falls asleep near dawn and wakes up a couple hours later, already under bright lights again, her eyes red, her voice cracked. But the camera doesn't wait. Fincher pushes everyone to the edge. He has no mercy, only a goal. He forces them to redo scenes dozens of times until their faces stop being masks. 5 takes, 10, 20. Voices break, shoulders slump. Norton is no longer acting a breakdown. He is in one. During a short break, he snaps. This is impossible. We already gave everything. But Fincher leans in and whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear. You are the narrator. You are breaking for real. The audience must see it. And they go again. Norton sits in the corner of the basement between takes. His hands pressed to his temples. Tears mix with sweat and leftover makeup. Dirty streaks run down his cheeks. He trembles like a leaf worn out by wind. Pitt, just as exhausted, smokes off to the side. The cigarette shakes between his fingers. His nerves are shot. His hands are covered in cuts, his knuckles raw and bloody. He looks at everything around him and whispers, this is madness. But damn, it works. The shoot drags on for months. Days blend into one endless gray mass soaked in smoke and sweat. Shifts run 18 hours straight. People practically live on set. They sleep on the way home. They see those concrete walls even with their eyes closed. Some stop feeling time. Some stop feeling themselves. One day, an assistant simply collapses right on the set. No drama. He's standing there, taking notes, and suddenly his eyes roll back. His body goes limp. The paper falls from his hands. He hits the concrete with a dull thud, like a bag of sand. A couple seconds of silence, then shouting, footsteps, someone calling an ambulance. They take him away, and the shoot continues anyway. Because the schedule, the studio, and the director do not know the word enough. The chemical burn scene becomes its own torture. Norton's hand is covered with a special gel, but the sensation is far from fake. The skin under it feels like it's burning, truly burning, as if someone poured real acid on it. He sits hunched over. His hand trembles. The muscles spasm. His face twists. The veins in his neck bulge. He screams, but it's no longer pure acting. There's exhaustion, anger, despair all at once. Fincher stares at him, unblinking. Again, I want to see not an actor, but a human being losing everything. Pain is truth. 10 takes, 20, 40. By the end, the skin is covered in blisters. His hand throbs even between takes. Norton can barely stand, and that exact look, a mix of pain and total emotional collapse, is what makes it into the film. Outside the official story, rumors crawl around. People say the basement they used was alive. The rats weren't accidental guests. They were the real owners of the place. Stuntmen swear that one rat attacked a guy who fell during a fight scene. The bite was sharp like a needle. Blood came instantly. The wound swelled, turned red. A day later, fever, aching joints, fog in the head. Someone whispered, "The film is cursed. Even the rats here aren't here by accident." Officially, it's just coincidence. But in conditions like these, any coincidence becomes myth. There's a story about a knife, too. A rumor, a legend. Call it what you want. They say one of the prop knives was actually evidence from a real murder case. That it was brought in from some storage facility, used in a few shots. And then it simply vanished. No one knows if it's true or just a scary tale for newcomers. But people on set repeated the same warning. Don't touch that knife. It's not from the prop room. It's from real life. And when the blade flashed in the frame, some people felt a chill go down their spine. Helena went through her own hell, and not just from cigarettes and coffee. In the phone scene, her voice tears apart. She screams, she growls. Her words turn into a mixture of sound and pain. Fincher makes her repeat it again and again until her vocal cords begin to give out. She whispers between takes, "I can't do this." My throat is on fire. Behind the door, the director's torn voice. "Another take. You must feel the smoke killing you. Only then the audience will believe you are Marla." Cigarettes burn one after another. A pack a day turns into a pile of bent filters and gray ash. Nicotine digs into her blood. Her heart speeds up. Her hands turn cold. Inside, everything trembles like a stretched wire. By night, her head hums like an engine. Her body feels heavy and weak. But the shoot doesn't stop. And that's not all. In the coffee scenes, the cups are not props. Real espresso. Thick, black as oil. Every cup hits the nervous system like a hammer. After 10 cups, her hands shake. After 20, caffeine turns the night into a never-ending nightmare. Her heart bangs like a drum, leading someone to execution. Her chest vibrates with a constant hum. Her mind buzzes. She falls asleep near dawn and wakes up a couple hours later, already under bright lights again. her eyes red, her voice cracked. But the camera doesn't wait. Fincher pushes everyone to the edge. He has no mercy, only a goal. He forces them to redo scenes dozens of times until their faces stop being masks. 5 takes, 10, 20. Voices break, shoulders slump. Norton is no longer acting a breakdown. He is in one. During a short break, he snaps. "This is impossible. We already gave everything." But Fincher leans in and whispers, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You are the narrator. You are breaking for real. The audience must see it." And they go again. Norton sits in the corner of the basement between takes, his hands pressed to his temples. Tears mix with sweat and leftover makeup. Dirty streaks run down his cheeks. He trembles like a leaf worn out by wind. Pitt, just as exhausted, smokes off to the side. The cigarette shakes between his fingers. His nerves are shot. His hands are covered in cuts, his knuckles raw and bloody. He looks at everything around him and whispers, "This is madness." But damn, it works. The shoot drags on for months. Days blend into one endless gray mass soaked in smoke and sweat. Shifts run 18 hours straight. People practically live on set. They sleep on the way home. They see those concrete walls even with their eyes closed. Some stop feeling time. Some stop feeling themselves. One day, an assistant simply collapses right on the set. No drama. He's standing there, taking notes, and suddenly his eyes roll back. His body goes limp. The paper falls from his hands. He hits the concrete with a dull thud, like a bag of sand. A couple of seconds of silence, then shouting, footsteps, someone calling an ambulance. They take him away, and the shoot continues anyway. Because the schedule, the studio, and the director do not know the word enough. The chemical burn scene becomes its own torture. Norton's hand is covered with a special gel, but the sensation is far from fake. The skin under it feels like it's burning, truly burning, as if someone poured real acid on it. He sits hunched over. His hand trembles. The muscles spasm. His face twists. The veins in his neck bulge. He screams, but it's no longer pure acting. There's exhaustion, anger, despair all at once. Fincher stares at him, unblinking. Again, I want to see not an actor, but a human being losing everything. Pain is truth. 10 takes, 20, 40. By the end, the skin is covered in blisters. His hand throbs even between takes. Norton can barely stand, and that exact look, a mix of pain and total emotional collapse, is what makes it into the film. Outside the official story, rumors crawl around. People say the basement they used was alive. The rats weren't accidental guests. They were the real owners of the place. Stuntmen swear that one rat attacked a guy who fell during a fight scene. The bite was sharp like a needle. Blood came instantly. The wound swelled, turned red. A day later, fever, aching joints, fog in the head. Someone whispered, "The film is cursed. Even the rats here aren't here by accident." Officially, it's just coincidence. But in conditions like these, any coincidence becomes myth. There's a story about a knife, too. A rumor, a legend. Call it what you want. They say one of the prop knives was actually evidence from a real murder case. That it was brought in from some storage facility, used in a few shots. And then it simply vanished. No one knows if it's true or just a scary tale for newcomers. But people on set repeated the same warning. Don't touch that knife. It's not from the prop room. It's from real life. And when the blade flashed in the frame, some people felt a chill go down their spine. Helena went through her own hell, and not just from cigarettes and coffee. In the phone scene, Her voice tears apart. She screams, she growls. Her words turn into a mixture of sound and pain. Fincher makes her repeat it again and again until her vocal cords begin to give out. She whispers between takes, "I can't do this. My throat is on fire." And he answers calmly, "You can. You are Marla. Marla doesn't break. She breaks others." So she picks up the phone again and screams into the void until her voice turns into a low, shredded whisper. In that basement, with rats, smoke, sweat, and endless screaming, the film stops being fiction. It becomes a war against the body, a war against the mind, a war against the limits they once believed were unbreakable. And everyone who went through it walked out a different person. And then the final weeks of filming turned into a real nightmare. Not a metaphorical one, a physical one, with the smell of sweat, cigarettes, and cheap coffee, with trembling hands and empty, hollow eyes. People no longer live normal lives. They exist between takes. They barely sleep, drifting into short, nightmarish blackouts. They don't eat real food. They shove in cold pizza, candy bars from vending machines, liters of coffee. They live on adrenaline, nicotine, and raw, exhausting rage. A rage that is no longer acting, but a state of the body. Eyes are red, skin is gray. Everyone moves through the set like ghosts trapped in a concrete hell. Fincher becomes even harsher. If at the start he was a cold controller, now he is a battlefield commander. His voice echoes across the set like an air raid siren. Even at night, when the studio outside is silent, inside you hear his scream, shaking the walls. "You're still pretending. You're acting pain, and I need real pain. I want you dying on camera, do you hear me? Dying for real." People flinch, but no one argues. There's no room for fragile souls here. The office scene becomes one of the most brutal moments of the entire shoot. The narrator beats himself. It looks insane even in the script. But what happens on set goes far beyond that. Norton stands in the middle of a sterile, brightly lit office, in a white shirt like an ordinary clerk. Around him, a desk, a chair, polished metal beams, glass. And then this office turns into an arena of self-torture. He starts hitting with his fists. First the desk, dull thuds shaking his knuckles. Skin splits and bleeds quickly. Then the chair, the walls, the metal supports. The sound is like someone punching raw meat. Then he collapses to the floor and starts hitting himself. Fist to the face, to the chest, to the shoulder. No stunt double, no padding, no safety. First take. He miscalculates the punch, and blood bursts from his nose, spreading across the white fabric like a red flower. Second take, his lip splits. Drops fall to the carpet, leaving dark, sticky stains. Third take, one tooth starts to loosen. His tongue touches it, and a primitive animal fear rises from his stomach. But the camera keeps rolling. After 15 takes, Norton can't stand up anymore. His head spins. The world blurs like he's underwater. His ears ring with a loud, invisible buzz. Every breath comes with effort. He sits on the floor, holding his head, elbows on his knees. Blood drips from his chin, mixing with sweat already soaking through his shirt. His hands shake, his fingers curl in spasms. Fincher walks up to him, not like a comforting director, but like a man who finally got what he wanted. He leans down, looks Norton straight in the eyes, and his voice becomes quiet. Almost a whisper, but colder than a scream. "Now I see the narrator. Right now, this is not an actor. This is a man who is broken." Later, Norton admits the moment changed him. I really thought I was losing my mind. I didn't know where the role ended and where I began. It felt like I was beating not my character, but myself. And the rooftop scene, the one where the world collapses, becomes the personal collapse of everyone filming it. The explosions in the final version are digital, but nothing about the shoot itself is fake. They film under freezing rain. The sky is lead gray. The wind cuts their faces like razors. Water pours down not like a warm shower, but like needles stabbing into the skin. The temperature drops to 5 degrees, but feels like below zero. The actors are soaked through in minutes. Their clothes turn into an icy shell. Pitt and Norton stand at the edge of the rooftop, under powerful spotlights that only make the cold feel sharper. Water runs down their faces, mixing with makeup, fake blood and real sweat. Their fingers go numb. Their lips turn blue. Pitt shivers so hard that his teeth actually knock against each other, and the sound is loud enough for people at the monitor to hear it. But Fincher doesn't say cut. Instead, he screams through the pounding rain, "You are Tyler. You cannot be cold. You are stronger than this. You are an idea, and ideas don't freeze." At some point, the body quits. Pitt's legs simply stop holding him. He takes one step and collapses like a puppet whose strings were cut. The fall looks so real that a few people on set genuinely feel their hearts drop. They rush to him, wrap him in a blanket, press hot tea into his hands. Someone rubs his arms to warm them. Someone else curses under their breath from fear. For a few minutes, he just lies there, staring at the ceiling, breathing heavily. His chest rises and falls like he just ran a marathon in freezing rain. But 20 minutes later, he gets up, pulls on the same soaked clothes, and walks back into the storm. His eyes burn, not with Tyler's fire, but with the look of a man who has truly crossed his limit. The final month of filming becomes a chain of collapses and breakdowns, as if the film itself is draining life from everyone involved. The camera operator, who had survived countless night shifts and brutal conditions, suddenly loses consciousness behind the lens. He stands there, holding the frame, looking through the viewfinder. And then his arms weaken, his eyes roll back, his knees buckle. He falls forward, dragging heavy gear with him. The crack of his body hitting the concrete is so loud that everyone freezes. They pull him away. Someone calls the medics. Someone else just stands there, praying it isn't as bad as it looks. The sound engineer, who spent days listening through headphones to every breath, every whisper, every punch, suddenly stands up and collapses next to the console. No dramatic moment, just a body giving up. His hands shake, his breathing is ragged, his eyes are empty. Diagnosis, nervous breakdown. They take him away, and someone else takes his place, because the schedule doesn't stop for anyone. One of the makeup artists, the man who spends all day painting bruises and wounds, drops to the floor in the middle of the makeup room. He sits down, leans against the wall. His hands fall to his sides, still covered in fake blood. And then he starts crying. Not quietly, but loudly, uncontrollably, like a child. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to see this blood, even if it's fake. I can't tell what's makeup and what's real wounds anymore. No one helps him up right away. Everyone understands him too well. People begin sleeping right on the set. Some collapse under tables. Some lie on mats between takes. Others fall asleep leaning against the same walls where their characters were fighting minutes before. Rats run under their feet. Buckets filled with cigarette butts stand in the corners. The air is thick, a heavy mix of sweat, blood, wet concrete, and old tobacco smoke. Clothes, hair, skin, everything absorbs that smell. People walk out of the studio, and that underground hell follows them like a shadow. And yet, they finish the film as if someone pushed them all the way to the absolute breaking point. And somewhere at that point of total exhaustion, something was born. Something that people would later call a masterpiece. On October 6th, 1999, Fight Club hits theaters. A huge release. Posters everywhere. Marketing campaigns. But the first week is a cold shower. By studio standards, it's a failure. The film brings in only $6 million. For a project of this scale, it's a slap in the face. The studio panics. Reports filled with red numbers. Meetings with raised voices. Critics tear the film apart, accuse it of glorifying violence, of toxic masculinity, of being dangerous for society. Inside the offices of 20th Century Fox, the conversations turn heavy. Executives shout that Fincher ruined the film, that it's too dark, too violent, too confusing for the mainstream audience. Someone whispers that this might be the end of his studio career. The actors sit at home with the curtains closed. They read the first box office numbers and feel something twist painfully inside. We almost died for this. We left pieces of ourselves on that set. And for what? For nothing? This thought hangs over everyone who survived that hell. But the film that was born in a basement is saved by basements again, only now by the viewers' basements. It starts quietly, almost underground. Tapes and DVDs begin to pass from hand to hand. Someone gives it to a friend. The friend brings it to a dorm room. They watch it together, then again, and again. Video stores can't keep copies in stock. The film is ripped from their hands. People reserve it days ahead. Fans go to midnight screenings 5 or 6 times, dragging new friends with them as if they're performing a forbidden ritual. The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club becomes a meme before memes even exist. People write it on walls, in notebooks, on forums, mutter it in kitchens. Those who understand the film recognize each other by these words, like a password. A year after the disastrous start, the movie that Fox called a dangerous mistake passes $100 million worldwide and becomes a cult phenomenon. It enters lists of the greatest films of the late 20th century. Books are written about it. Scenes and quotes are studied frame by frame. And the price for all of this? Not a line in the budget. Broken bones, burned lungs soaked in smoke and caffeine. Nerves torn to shreds. Sleepless nights. Nightmares where people find themselves back in that basement. Scars on hands, on faces, on the mind. Scars that never fully heal. Years later, David Fincher speaks without drama, but with cold honesty. I wanted to create chaos, and I did. Not only on the screen, on the set too. And I don't regret anything. There's no apology in those words. Only the admission that, for the film, he was willing to burn people down to the foundation. Brad Pitt admits, it was the most painful, the most honest, and the coolest experience of my life. Sometimes I feel like I still carry every hit with me. They're somewhere inside, under the skin. Edward Norton says sharply, I will never let anyone treat me like that again. Never. But if Fincher called tomorrow and said, let's do it again, I'd go. Because this film lives inside me, like a tattoo you can't wash off. Helena Bonham Carter smiles, but there's a shadow in that smile. I still can't smoke without my hands shaking, and I still can't drink black coffee calmly. Every sip brings me back there. But I'm proud I went through that hell. Marla stayed inside me forever. Fight Club is not just a movie. It is a war they won with their own blood, and everyone who presses play today feels that blood. Every punch, every scream, every drop of sweat and tears, all of it is real. All of it is alive. And if you watch the credits to the very end, you're left with a strange feeling that the film doesn't really end. It just moves into your head. And once it's there, it never lets you go.